Whoa. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again. And today I want to talk to you on a very special subject, and I hope I can get your undivided attention. I have some things that you need to know, and I want to give it to you in my own words. Previously, I've asked you to consider me to be President of the United States of America. Some of you might have heard that video and are aware of my request to you. Many of you, I'm sure, have not. And yet at this time, way ahead of the game, I want to let you know that I'm still interested. And let me give you some information. Why now? I want you to know now because the game is deep. Corporations have become people. They got plenty of money, and a lot of people got plenty of money. And they are playing the game that they know. I bring to them a foreign game, a game that they do not know and don't trust. And so I don't get any support from them. So what I have to do is to try to start now, hoping that perhaps I might have clicked a nerve that would have awakened a fire in most of you. And you would be the catalyst that takes this campaign forward. This is why I'm giving it to you early. And I want you to know what kind of person I am. I want you to know well ahead before the devil try to expose me. I want to expose myself. I'm a country boy. Grew up in Mississippi. It's like sharecropping or just living on a plantation type situation. I can recall working all day for $2 a day. And at the end of working all week, we got $10. And if we worked on Saturday, we got $11. Now that was a lot of money for people like us. Now, I'm sure that $11 a week didn't mean too much to many of you. Really didn't mean that much to us, but it was the best we could do under the circumstances. So I grew up under those kinds of situations. I remember once when I was in elementary school, I had a little girlfriend, and I was 6th grade, I believe, and we were having on a May Day program. Every May Day we'd get together and we'd plat the maypole. You know, everything was set up. It was a celebration. And so I had this little girlfriend. I wanted to make sure that on this day I was able to do something special for her. And never had any money. You know, when I went to school, I usually had 3 cents for a box of milk and a piece of sausage wrapped up in a biscuit, or a piece of salt pork in a biscuit, you know, a sandwich like that, or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Eating in the lunchroom, that was just out of it. I mean, you know, with a regular dinner. Anyway, I remember one day, right before May Day, I went in I stole some money from my grandfather, my great-grandfather who raised me. I went in his wallet to get $1. And his wallet was stacked. So I'm thinking all of these dollars, if I get $2, he won't miss it. Well, if I get 2, I get 3, he won't miss it. So I got $3. And I went and I hid it. And the next day I got up, got ready to go to school. And on my way to school, I went in my shoe to get the money out. And I realized I had 3 20s, $60. Didn't know what to do with it. But if he wouldn't miss 3 1s, he might not miss 3 20s. So I took my dumb self to Western Auto and bought me a watch, big old watch too big for my little arm. Bought myself a 12-inch bicycle, and bought my uncle, who was about the same age as I, who lived there too because his mother had passed. Bought him a cow pistol, and we were playing cowboys and stuff. But I went to school that day. Later on, I had to hide the stuff. And at school, I was able to buy my girlfriend some hot dogs. They only cost, well, the Coca-Cola cost 6 cents. I guess the hot dog must have cost a nickel. And we had fun that day. But I got home, my parents discovered, my great-great-grandparents discovered that I was the one who did that. They tricked me, told me they wasn't going to punish me if I told them the truth. So I told them the truth. And they beat the living hell out of me. I have never ever seen or heard anybody being beaten like that in all my life, except maybe a month or so ago. I was watching some videos about slavery, and I saw a situation where a guy, a slave, was being beaten, and he was tied up just like I was tied up. And I sat there, and it brought back so many memories. Nobody should ever be beaten like that. I personally think that if God hadn't broken those ropes that had me tied down, I would have died that time. Anyway, this is the kind of person is sitting before you now saying they want to be president of the United States. I remember in high school, I was fell in love with a girl, and I really wanted to marry her, and I used to talk to her parents about it, but they weren't really going for that. Anyway, a little bit later on, I got kicked out of high school, got expelled because this girl had bought me a sweater for Thanksgiving, and one of my instructors going to start some altercation with some of the students, for which I was one in the number, and he and I got to fight, so they kicked me out of school. I ended up having to take the GED, got out of school before my classmates did, and ended up with no job to go to. I had to go as a farm laborer to North Carolina to pick tobacco. I remember one night out there, the tobacco picking was so, whew, I mean, it was so involved. And one day I was out there under the machine. It was raining, and I was glad it was raining because I was crying. I was saying, Lord, and is this the kind of life that I'm going to have to be subject to for my entire living? And it was a crying, sad time. But anyway, I remember I had taken an audition for a scholarship to go to college during my high school time when I was there. And I was waiting to see what happened. And one day I did get a letter from Alcorn State University in Longman, Mississippi, saying that I had been accepted and I could come participate in the band and my schooling would be paid for. Now that was a godsend. That was a godsend. But now, I was kind of like a lover man. Where I come from, back in those days, you were looked up based upon how many girlfriends you can have. And I'm not bragging, but I had my share. In fact, I fathered a couple of children, for which I have never, ever financially supported. Not that I'm bragging or I'm glad of that. In fact, I'm devastated. And I know my kids can't stand me. And you say, why? Well, people usually look at love based upon how you meet their needs. And people got needs. And if you're not helping meet those needs, they can't see how you love them. Not in a family, not in a community, not in a nation. If you're not helping those needs to be met, you can't really say you love them. And they don't think you do. And so since I haven't never done anything for them, I don't think they love me. And they probably think I don't love them. But I have to do what I'm doing. I have to do what some people did for some of us. See, most people don't take these roads, but some do. Anyway, I ended up going to college, and I got married early. My first wife, we had a wonderful life, I think. And I worked for the Veterans Administration, and we lived and enjoyed life. But having indulged myself in life to what I called a life that really had no purpose except to have fun, because I had watched people my whole life, and the world was like it was, and nobody was doing anything to bring about any changes that I could tell. And so it seemed like a useless effort. And so I became one I did a lot of marijuana. I smoked marijuana all the time because I did not want to be a part of a society like the one I was living in. And I did a lot of stuff. Even through my life, I did crack. I did crack for a while. And then I decided to turn that stuff loose, because crack does not play. It will get you. And I know a lot of people that's been smoking crack for 40 and 50 years. However, I'm sitting here saying to you that having done all that, I want to be president of the United States. Now, I started seeing some things happening in this world that brought me back to my senses while working with the Veterans Administration. And I decided that if there were going to be any changes in the world now, it was going to be required that I do it. I looked at ministers, people who represented God, expected them to do great things, but they failed me and us. And I had no respect for God coming out of their mouths. There were 2 men in my lifetime that glorified God in such a way that I give God glory because of them. And they were Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And the only white men that I can recall outside of the people who fought in the struggle with Dr. King who lost their lives, I have to give them the greatest admiration. But other than that, it would be the Kennedy brothers. John Kennedy, not that saying that he was a lover of black people, but he was a good man. And Robert Kennedy, those two gentlemen. And Abraham Lincoln and John Brown, gotta say those two. And so that's about it. All the white preachers and everybody, they made it seem that slavery and treating people bad was okay with God. And I say that because they never did anything about it. Even today, Osteen got the biggest church organization that I've seen on TV. I mean, people look like they just like the sands on the beach of an ocean. And they're not doing anything for people. But they say they're glorifying God. And I credit them for doing what they've been led to believe was true. I believe what Dr. King, what Gandhi, I believe what Jesus did was true, that people were important. And so I stood up for that. I got to let this thing go. I can't talk too long because I'm going to have to run out of time on the camera. And I think what I'll do, I'll split this thing up into two parts. Right now, I'll stop this and call this part 1 of In My Own Words. And I'll be coming back with part 2 of In My Own Words.